This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some important update to share with you. Stimulus checks are back. Majority of Americans want stimulus checks to combat inflation, according to a new official poll. I'll give you the details on that. President Biden threatens oil companies to lower the gas prices. I'll play the video clip of what President Biden just said, and the odds of a recession are extremely high. I'll give you an update from an economist on that. We'll also go over the latest stimulus check articles like this. Deadline for $3,200 checks are just 14 days away, and also the $12,000 in monthly payments deadline is coming up as well, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Tuesday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel for more straight-to-the-point daily updates on important matters that financially matter to you. And I'm giving $200 checks to my subscribers. I'll talk more about that later on in the video. But first, majority of Americans back new stimulus checks to combat inflation. So yeah, this just came out. So majority of Americans support the idea of new stimulus checks to combat inflation, according to a new poll conducted from Newsweek. So the survey found that 63% of respondents said they agree, with 42% saying they strongly agree when asked if federal government should issue new stimulus checks to tackle inflation. 18% of respondents disagreed, while 15% said they neither agree nor disagree. 3% said they do not know in response to the question. So yeah, according to this poll, looks like people want stimulus checks. 63% agree, 43% strongly agree. Let me know down in the comments below. Due to inflation now around 8.2%, should we get more stimulus checks to combat inflation? Let me know your thoughts on that. Let's hear what the people have to say. The people have spoken already, actually. When it comes to other stimulus news, new stimulus check 2022, Massachusetts tax refund money is being sent now. So this is going on in Massachusetts. Checks are being sent right now. It's 14% of your 2021 November tax return in Massachusetts. And then also, stimulus update, deadline to claim direct one-time $3,200 payment is just 14 days away. So between 9 and 10 million taxpayers remain eligible for these stimulus payments, federal stimulus checks, that are worth around $3,200, depending if you missed all of them or not. And the deadline is approaching. So it looks like November, or the deadline was passed October 17th, but only those who don't pay taxes due to low incomes are still eligible, and that is going to be November 15th. So yeah, stay tuned for that if you did not get your stimulus check, or if you know anyone who hasn't. And then urgent deadline for hundreds of Americans to get $12,000 in monthly direct payments from $3 million pot. So this is going on in Virginia. It's part of the IRS program, a Universal Basic Income program, that's going to give $500 monthly payments. And this is available in Alexandria, Virginia. Applications opened October 31st yesterday, and they go on until November 9th. It's only a certain amount of zip codes. So if you're in Alexandria, Virginia, and you want to apply for that, definitely look into that. And when it comes to issues on a federal level, seriously low diesel supply threatens to worsen inflation because of all the freight trucks that deliver all the food and basically everything that we see in stores. Those trucks run on diesel, and if diesel is high, that means the cost of those goods are going to get higher as well. What is being done about it? Well, President Biden threatens higher taxes on oil companies if they do not work to lower gas prices. So President Biden threatened to pursue higher taxes on oil companies if they don't lower the price of gas, and any new proposed taxes on businesses could run into opposition in Congress. So although President Biden talking big, it may or may not happen. Take a look at the video clip of what President Biden has to say.
You're not out in the rain with the Halloweeners.
Yeah.
I got to go out, so you got to come with me. Well, good afternoon. This is a very short statement, but a consequential one in my view. Putin's invasion of Ukraine in March set gas prices soaring literally around the world, not just here, but around the world. And because of the action we've taken since then, gas prices have actually come down, going into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve here at home in America. They're down more than $1.20 since their peak this summer, and they've been falling for the best part of the last 3 weeks. In June, the average price, not the most common price, but the average price nationwide was over $5 a gallon. Today, the average price for a gallon of gas is $3.76. That's adding up to real savings for American families, the difference between those prices. And this difference makes a difference. In a difficult time, Americans across the country have stepped up to do the right thing. But not everyone stepped up. The oil industry has not. It has not met its commitment to invest in America and support the American people. One by one, major oil companies have reported record profits, not just a fair return for hard work. Every company is entitled to that, a fair return for the work they do or innovation they generate. I mean profits so high it's hard to believe. Now, the second quarter, the profits were really high, but the third quarter, last week, Shell announced that it made $9.5 billion in profits for the third quarter. $9.5 billion. That's almost twice as much as it made in the third quarter of last year. I think that's something. You think that's incredible? I thought, that's as good as high as it's going to get. Then along came Exxon. Exxon's profits for the third quarter were $18.7 billion. One quarter, $18.7 billion. Nearly triple what Exxon made last year. And the most in its 152-year history. It's never made that much profit. In the last 6 months, 6 of the largest oil companies have made more than $100 billion. $100 billion. And we had a little discussion about this, the three of us and others. $100 billion in profits in less than 200 days. That's not bad. And here's why this matters. I think it's outrageous what the size of the profit.
What are your thoughts on this? Should the oil companies lower the price of gas? Does President Biden have the power to do so? Maybe not. It would have to go through Congress, and in order to go through Congress, there has to be a majority of the Democrats in Congress, which may or may not happen in a week or so from now after the midterm elections. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll keep you posted. And then the Fed may have to blow up the economy to get inflation under control. So we're going to hear a big announcement on Wednesday of what the Fed is going to do, most likely hike the interest rates even higher. And then if you thought inflation was bad in America, I came across this article. Inflation soars over 300% in Venezuela in blow to Maduro rebound. So yeah, inflation is around 8.2% in America, but over 300% in Venezuela. So I guess it could always be worse. And then the odds of a recession are extremely elevated, according to JP Morgan's Gabriela Santos, other economists. A lot of people are saying recession is going to happen despite having a positive GDP quarter just announced. Take a look at what this economist has to say.
We are going to hear from the Fed, of course, on Wednesday. And I'm curious what you think we are going to hear, not just the number, which I think is sort of everybody's consensus is 75 basis points, but what we're actually going to hear from Jay Powell. And then, of course, we'll hear the jobs number on Friday.
Good morning. He's in a bit of a bind because on the one hand, I think he's inclined to validate the market expectation that we are having a slowdown in the rate hikes. And he may combine that with a higher terminal rate, as some have suggested. On the other hand, if he does that and financial conditions continue to loosen, then that causes him problems on the inflation front. So it's a really tough balance to strike. And then there's the financial stability issue on top of that. So it's going to be a fascinating press conference. And it comes after the JOLTS number, but before the labor report. So it is a particularly interesting one, this one.
So you saw the Goldman Sachs report. What do you think is really in the cards at this point?
So they are looking at inflation. They're looking at how persistent inflation has become. And they are saying, therefore, the Fed's going to have to go even higher. But the rate at which it gets there slows down. So it's the old thing between how high, how fast, how long, the HFL. And what we do know is it's the F that's most problematic for the markets. It's the fast bit. So to the extent that the Fed can get away with slowing, I think this market can try to navigate the higher for longer. So look at the pace. The pace is really important. If the pace stays where it is now, then we're going to have this liquidity rally, which has been incredibly rewarding, once again being challenged by fundamentals.
Does this little rally make sense to you? I mean, some people think that this is the beginning of something. Some people think this is a grand head fake.
I think Joe summarized it very well. This is a market that repeatedly falls in love with liquidity and therefore rallies, but the sustainability of those rallies is only there if you get fundamentals improving. That is the lesson of the last 2.5 years. Now, when you're in that rally, it's incredibly powerful, it's incredibly rewarding, but then you get the fundamentals.
Right.
So looking forward, and I am among the people who don't know, looking forward, the question is, when will fundamentals validate a liquidity rally? And that's the big question. So far, fundamentals haven't validated it, and that's why people are worried that we're going to test the lows yet again.
Mohammed, you've been very worried about a hard landing for a long time. Is there any chance we actually are in for a soft landing? You saw GDP numbers better than people had expected, which I think gave some comfort to the folks at Treasury and probably at the Fed.
Look, I'm not yet in the camp that a recession is 100%. I do think the probability is uncomfortably high. I wouldn't put it 100%. So is there some possibility of a soft landing? Yes, but it is meager, Andrew, unfortunately. For a soft landing to have happened, the Fed should have started moving a year ago, not waited and then had to front load all these rate increases.
And where are you on the other side of this? Let's say we actually get to the other side of this. I don't know what the other side of this even means. You know, Larry Summers has talked about this idea that actually, even in a best case scenario, you sort of live in this sort of stagflation world.
Yeah, it's a matter of policies. There's nothing preordained about stagflation. We can do a lot on the supply side, and we should be doing a lot on the supply side. We should do more on regulating and supervising non-banks. And the Fed has to be sustainably serious on inflation. You know, we have the tools and we have the policies to avoid this long period of stagflation. But the question is, will the political system allow these tools to be deployed in a continuous manner? And that's why next week is so important.
Right.
Well, things are definitely not looking better anytime soon, unfortunately. It seems that we're just keep getting pounded with bad news. And as I spoke about earlier, because of inflation, how hard it's hitting Americans, a lot of people want stimulus checks to combat inflation. We don't want to wait for a recession to be officially announced to have recession stimulus checks. Why not stimulus checks now to help Americans? Let me know if you agree with that. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is the tip of the day. Want me to tell you the one thing that you should do? You should, when you feel bad, take a couple deep breaths in and out. And also, after that, you can realize that things are better. So, bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support. Don't forget $200 checks down in description below of how you could win that. And I forgot to mention, Halloween was yesterday. We had a great time. The girls went trick-or-treating with their friends. I couldn't because of my ankle, but they dressed up as Indian princesses, which was pretty cool. And they had a fun time. I went around the neighborhood trick-or-treating and stuff. And also, I forgot to mention too, Bella's swim meet over the weekend went pretty well. It was a little hectic, really crowded, very high energy environment. Bella was a little stressed out at first, but you know, after a few things, she did pretty well. You know, she was able to keep up with the pack, so it was pretty cool. Anyways, I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you want to check out any of my other videos, my other channels, click right up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.